flu vaccine mandates, return of the draft, and super soldiers? As I sit here and take in all of the news from every direction, all I see is deceivers, liars, corporate media, cover-ups, agenda, all pushing the same propaganda. It's time for a game changer, a visionary, an innovative person who changes the way that people think of the situations. It's time for Game Changer TV, telling it like it is, the game. Oh, it's good to be back in this seat again. A lot has been going on. My blood pressure was 204 over 117. I had to go to the hospital. Joshua had an emergency dentist, had to get 3 teeth fixed. I've been cleaning the property with a push mower, pulling down shrubs. My hands hurt. A lot's going on, but we have to get into this today. Thank you for tuning into Game Changer TV. I'm your host, Terri Lynn, and this is the channel where every day we're telling it like it is. Today is July 7th, 2026, and let's just get straight into this. A coming vaccine, a flu vaccine mandate, return of the military draft, and super soldiers. Strap in for this.
With the ongoing war in Iran, questions are swirling over a potential U.S. draft, in part because when asked about it, Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt says President Trump is, quote, keeping every option on the table.
In the age of AI and electronics, what would a draft look like? Now we covered this in a video a few months back. The U.S. military draft system is shifting to an automatic electronic registration starting in December. The change moves from the duty of signing up from the individual citizens to the government by using existing federal data sources. So in the past, young men watched on television if their birthday got drawn in a lottery if they were pulled up for the draft. How would a draft today in 2026 look under an automatically electronic registration? This is from July 31st, 2026. Fears of U.S. draft grow as the Selective Service modernizes. From militarytimes.com, Selective Service System wants to war game the draft. They're wanting to run a tabletop simulation to see how it would play out. Fearing that its new plans for the U.S. military draft pool would not work, the Selective Service System wants to create a computer simulation to test scenarios for its national mobilization. We're going to get into this more farther down in this video. The Readiness Simulation Project comes as the U.S. government is about to change the draft registration system. Now, y'all remember Doge and Palantir creating databases on everybody, cross-referencing data. And so now the Selective Service draft is going to be all electronic. They're going to be pulling information from everywhere. And what season are we in? The season of AI. And y'all remember when Marjorie Taylor Greene warned against AI and Trump's executive order unleashing AI? Do y'all remember that? One is promoting advanced artificial intelligence, innovation, and security. 4 days ago, Trump administration finalizes AI framework. And remember, she was warning about how dangerous unrestrained AI was going to be.
Have you said you have problems with the bill, just like Elon Musk has said. Some of the concerns that he has?
I have one serious problem with the bill, and that is destroying state rights and federalism to allow AI to run rampant over 10 years. And AI, I think, is one of the most unknown and unpredictable industries going forward.
And what is about to run the simulation for the draft? Selective Service prepares to war game the new draft system with AI. The defense planners are abandoning manual procedures and legacy modeling approaches in favor of a modern software suite that can simulate rapid military conscription, the draft, on a national scale. The digital overhaul arrives on the heels of a major legislative updates passed last year that expanded the scope of potential draft. Are y'all ready? A core requirement of the procurement is the creation of a scenario library. The library will allow operators to simulate baseline operations, national emergency surges, policy toggles, and degraded communications environments. Beyond basic data logging, are y'all ready? The system is explicitly designed to predict and simulate civilian resistance, evasion, and processing friction during a sudden national call-up. Classification and ASP yield diversion logic to analyze draftees who attempt to legally avoid combat roles. Projecting no-show rates. Perhaps most concerning, the simulation parameters also indicate that the Pentagon is planning for a draft executed under a state of domestic collapse or external warfare. Yes or no, could AI predict who would get called up in a U.S. military draft? Yes, AI can look at public data like age, location, and health records to guess who might get picked in a draft. Yes or no, could a prolonged war be the cause for the U.S. military draft to return? Yes, a prolonged large-scale war, especially one that drains all the volunteer force or involves near-peer adversaries, is legally and practically a primary scenario that could cause the U.S. government to reinstate a military draft. And here we are. Selective Service System wants to war game the draft. The Selective Service System plans to create a computer simulation called the Readiness Simulation to test scenarios for a national mobilization. Fearing that its new plans for U.S. military draft pool won't work, the Selective Service System wants to create a computer simulation to test scenarios for its national mobilization. The Selective Service System wants to build a computer simulation called the Readiness Simulation. Shall we play a game? Y'all remember War Games, the movie? Matthew Broderick? The Selective Service System wants to build a computer simulation called the Readiness Simulation Tool to war game national mobilization and test how military draft would function. The agency admits its current methods rely on outdated data and manual models ahead of a shift to automatically register men aged 18 to 26 starting December 19th, 2026. A few months away. Yes or no, could AI draw the conclusion that the U.S. military needed to implement the U.S. military draft? AI, Trump unleashed AI unregulated. The AI could determine whether or not the U.S. military needs to implement the draft. Yes, an AI can draw the conclusion that the U.S. military needs a draft if given data, trends, and premises that lead to that logical result. The AI analysis input text, data sets, or policy questions. It evaluates scenarios like high troop demand or low recruitment numbers. It applies logic reasoning based on its training data. Yes or no, could a prolonged war be the cause? If AI determines, hey, this is taking too long, we're losing too many lives, we need to call more people up, AI could make the determination. And people laugh when Marjorie Taylor Greene was warning about what this was going to do.
protecting the American people.
Mothers out there are worried that we're going to have a draft, that they're going to see their sons get in and daughters get involved in this. What do you want to say about the president's plans for troops on the ground? As we know, it's been largely an air campaign up until now.
It has been, and it will continue to be, and President Trump wisely does not remove options off of the table. I know a lot of politicians like to do that quickly, but the president, as commander-in-chief, wants to continue to assess the success of this military operation. It's not part of the current plan right now, but the president, again, wisely keeps his options on the table. But as commander-in-chief, there's no greater priority or responsibility to this president than, of course, protecting the American people and protecting our troops and our bases in the Middle East, which Iran has been threatening for 47 years. They have killed and maimed thousands of American soldiers, and President Trump was not going to allow Iran to attack our bases and our troops and our men and women in the Middle East first, and that's why he took this historic action by launching Operation Epic Fury.
Now, this is a spin going on right here. First of all, Maria Bartiromo, she contributes to the World Economic Forum, worldeconomicforum.org. Okay, so we've got a World Economic Forum contributor interviewing Trump's spokesman, and she's saying we're not going to take the military draft off the table. And look at this. Can't rule out the draft? Military draft is possible. Shocking. Caroline Leavitt refuses to rule out the draft. And again, yes or no, could AI predict who would get called up? Yes, it will. Yes or no, is it feasible that the U.S. military could build super soldiers since the Chinese military is building super soldiers? Now, think about a whole influx of new recruits to be drafted and what could be created. Yes, it is highly feasible that the U.S. military could build super soldiers, and it is actively developing the core technologies to do so. The American approach relies heavily on cybernetics, brain-machine interfaces like Neuralink, and wearable technology, whereas reports suggest that China is willing to pursue direct human genetic modification and gene editing CRISPR. Now look at this. The U.S. approach, driven by DARPA, the U.S. military focuses on technologies like smart blood cells, synthetic blood. I talked about that in a video the other day. And the U.S. approach to super soldiers involves DARPA. And look what I read this morning. This is from August 5th from the Blaze. Document dump reveals that top secret Bill Gates clearance during the COVID years. And guess what he had access to? DARPA. Senator Ron Paul says that Bill Gates had a private editor who worked at the National Institutes of Health. At the same time, Rand Paul released documents that point to Bill Gates having the highest level of access to the Department of Energy, as well as getting insider briefings from DARPA, the company building super soldiers. And the U.S. military is working with DARPA. And wait till y'all see how super soldiers are created. Then it'll make sense why Bill Gates had top secret, top level access to all this. Yes or no? Could U.S. soldiers be technologically merged to create super soldiers? Yes, the United States military and research groups are exploring ways. This is not conspiracy. The U.S. military and research groups are exploring ways to merge humans and technology to build advanced soldiers. Brain-computer interfaces. What is a super soldier? A super soldier is a fighter enhanced through science, technology, or genetics to perform far beyond normal human limits. Is super soldier transhuman? Yes. Why super soldiers are transhuman? Y'all remember I did a video, Trump's trust in AI makes him a transhumanist ticket. Let me just show you. Trust in AI makes Trump Vance a transhumanist ticket. Trump has unleashed AI. It can create super soldiers. It's part of transhumanism. Transhumanism means using technology to enhance human, physical, and mental capabilities. Super soldiers typically receive genetic engineering, cybernetic implants, or chemical upgrades. Yes or no? Is it feasible a super soldier could be programmed to remove empathy? Yes. Neurological targeting, damage or stimulation to the ventromedical prefrontal cortex directly blunts moral emotions and empathy. Make them killer machines. Remove collateral damage. Removing empathy severely impairs tactical judgment, team operation, and the ability to predict enemy behavior. Subjects without empathy exhibit psychopathic traits, making them highly volatile and difficult for military to command and control. HHS is so confident that a flu pandemic will be declared, it is developing day one vaccines, sam.gov. This is from July 27, 2026, about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Let's see what this article is. FDA approves Moderna's mRNA flu vaccine. FDA approves first mRNA flu shot from Moderna. And y'all remember during the COVID, I did a video on Moderna's mRNA technology. They call it the software of life. And I did a video that you would need constant upgrades to keep it running. Moderna uses the phrase operating system for life as a metaphor for its messenger mRNA technology platform. You remember I told you it was building an intra-body network? And they're calling it the operating system for life? And just like you need patches on your computer to fight viruses or updates to run things, Moderna uses the phrase operating system for life as a metaphor for its messenger or mRNA technology platform. The company views mRNA as the software of life because it can be programmed interchangeably with different genetic sequences like apps on a computer to instruct human cells to create protective proteins. Yes or no? Could super soldiers' genes be programmed with different genetic sequence like apps on a computer to instruct human cells to create protective proteins? Yes, human cells can be programmed with synthetic genetic sequences like software code to produce specific protective proteins. Now, y'all keep this in mind. Can super soldiers be programmed? Yes, scientists can design synthetic genes and deliver them into human cells using delivery tools like lipid nanoparticles or modified viruses. Where did we hear was lipid nanoparticles and a modified virus? Acting much like software instructions that tell the body to produce specific proteins or antibodies. Democrats push to restore flu vaccine mandate for troops amid Air Force base outbreak. 3 Democrat lawmakers introduced an amendment to a must-pass annual defense funding and policy bill that would require the Pentagon to restore mandatory flu vaccinations for service members. Yes or no? Is the U.S. military considering bringing back the flu mandate? Yes, the U.S. military has already reinstated the flu vaccine requirement for basic training recruits across the Army, Navy, and Air Force following a flu outbreak at Lakeland Air Force Base, reversing the general optional policy previously declared by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Military reinstates flu shot requirement just months after Hegseth scraped the mandate. under U.S. law. If the U.S. military reinstated the draft, would the draft be mandated to take the vaccinations? Yes, under U.S. law, once a person is inducted, once they become property of Uncle Sam, under U.S. law, once a person is inducted into the armed forces through a reinstated draft, they become subject to the exact same uniform code of military justice and military readiness regulations as volunteer service members, which includes mandatory military vaccination policies. You get drafted, you're getting mandated vaccines. And wait till you see where this is going. Flu vaccine mandate, return of the draft, and super soldiers. Are y'all ready? A new kind of flu shot is on the way as the FDA approves Moderna's mRNA-based vaccine. How long will it be before it becomes a mandate in society? So y'all keep in mind the lipid nanoparticles. Stealthy lipid nanoparticles give mRNA vaccine a makeover. Stealthy lipid nanoparticles. And what else had lipid nanoparticles in it? The devil juice? A new material developed at Cornell could significantly improve delivery and effectiveness of mRNA vaccines. This was 2025. Used to fight COVID-19 by replacing a commonly used ingredient that may trigger unwanted immune responses in some people. Thanks to their ability to train cells to produce virus-killing proteins, mRNA vaccines have gained popularity over the last 5 years for their success in reducing severity of COVID-19 infections. One method for delivering the mRNA to cells is by packaging it inside fatty spheres called lipid nanoparticles. Now, wait till we get into this. Can lipid polymers be injected through a vaccine? Let me go further into that article. To solve this, Yang has developed lipid nanoparticles that use a polymer. Okay. Yes or no? Can liquid polymers be injected through a vaccine? Yes, liquid formulations containing microscopic or dissolved biocompatible polymers, such as polymeric nanoparticles or microparticles, can be and are injected through vaccines. Now, let me show you what this means.
Scientists have just engineered a liquid polymer injected directly into the bloodstream that self-assembles into solid, conductive electrical circuits. These living wires don't need batteries. They absorb the natural kinetic energy of your pumping heart, converting your pulse into a constant electrical power grid for internal devices.
But once your nervous system is fully wired to the network, who holds the firewall? If a body can be programmed, it can be hacked. Welcome to Factverse.
An intra-body network. And this is going to build super soldiers. And if you get drafted, you will be subjected to this. Could an intra-body network be utilized through gene therapy? Yes, an intra-body molecular network can theoretically be integrated with and deployed through gene therapy concepts using engineered biological components to communicate inside the body.
Scientists have just engineered a liquid polymer injected directly into the bloodstream that self-assembles into solid, conductive electrical circuits.
Yes or no? Are super soldiers created via gene therapy? Yes, science uses gene therapy and gene editing tools to change traits in living things, which makes the idea of genetically enhanced soldier a real possibility in modern military research. Y'all, none of this is conspiracy. Now listen what Senator Ron Johnson said about Fauci and gene therapy. Listen to this. Nobody caught this.
Talk about things that my investigation have revealed that have not been adequately answered and, quite honestly, haven't been adequately covered by the legacy media. I'll kind of combine the questions into kind of one, but I certainly, let's put up the last COVID chart. I was warned pretty early on about the dangers of the experimental gene therapy that you've called a vaccine, but it really falls under the definition of gene therapy. So
he's calling it gene therapy, a senator. Gene therapy is part of transhumanism, and it can create super soldiers. And we've got a U.S. senator calling the vaccine gene therapy.
Combine the questions into kind of one, but I certainly, let's put up the last COVID chart. I was warned pretty early on about the dangers of the experimental gene therapy that you've called a vaccine, but it really falls under the definition of gene therapy. So I was going to ask you, were you carefully monitoring the safety surveillance systems like VAERS and vSafe pretty early on about the dangers of the experimental gene therapy that you've called a vaccine, but it really falls under the definition of gene therapy. So
yes or no, could gene therapy create super soldiers? Yes, gene therapy and advanced gene editing tools like CRISPR-Cas9 make the biological enhancement of human traits theoretically possible. While ethical bans, safety risk, and the complexity of the human genome limit practical application, major military powers like DARPA, that Bill Gates had top-level clearance for, actively research or discuss biological and genetic augmentations for future combat, and they're not ruling out the draft. Is this a way to get more people into transhumanism? Because they will be, by law, mandated under military code to be vaccinated with the liquid polymers and the gene therapy.
This is the U.S. Army's concept of the soldier of the future. This video makes it look like it's just a better-equipped soldier. But notice the words neural engineering. That can mean a brain implant that connects a human to computers. The defense agency DARPA.
Did y'all hear him say DARPA? That Bill Gates has top clearance for?
Soldier. But notice the words neural engineering. That can mean a brain implant that connects a human to computers. The defense agency DARPA has been working on an advanced implant that would essentially put the human brain online. There could also be eye and ear implants.
To put the human brain online. And Bill Gates has been meeting with DARPA. Okay? At the same time, Rand Paul released documents that point that Bill Gates having the highest level of access to DARPA that wants to connect soldiers' brains to the internet.
Put the human brain online. Been working on an advanced implant that would essentially put the human brain online. There could also be eye and ear implants and more circuitry under the skin to make the ultimate fighting machine. Americans are going to have to decide whether this is ethical, because some in our military clearly want it. The super soldiers of the future could simply have enhanced abilities, or they could be part man and part machine, what are known as cyborgs. China is already developing biologically enhanced super soldiers, using what former Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe called unethical medical experiments.
This is a big effort on the part of the Chinese government, and it is really horrifying.
Now, the French military has been given the go-ahead to also create so-called augmented soldiers. The super soldiers of the future will run fast, need little sleep, and little to eat or drink, and they'll be able to fight much longer than ordinary humans. But should we do it? And Lucas is concerned that future military recruits could be pressured to accept computer parts into their bodies.
They're worried that new draftees would be forced to take technology in their bodies. And Trump's spokesperson, Caroline Leavitt, says Trump has not ruled out bringing back the draft. And if the draft happened, they could be forced to take this technology into their body.
Your military recruits could be pressured to accept computer parts into their bodies. He believes they should be allowed to refuse them.
Super soldiers can be created through gene therapy, and it can be injected. While gene therapy is currently being researched for various neurological conditions, including memory disorders, using it to completely wipe someone's memory is not a practical or widely accepted application at this stage due to the complex nature of memory and ethical concerns surrounding such a procedure. However, research is exploring ways to manipulate specific memory pathways through targeted gene editing, potentially allowing for selective memory modification in the future, removing empathy and erasing memories. Yes or no, could an intra-body body of networks be achieved by gene therapy? Yes, an intra-body network where we saw an intra-body networks. This is an intra-body of networks.
Scientists have just engineered a liquid polymer injected directly into the bloodstream that self-assembles into solid, conductive electrical circuits.
Yes or no, could an intra-body of networks be achieved by gene therapy? Yes, an intra-body network can be achieved using gene therapy by turning living cells into tiny connected computers that talk to each other. Scientists use modified genes to build biological wires and signals inside the body. Yes or no? Can liquid polymers in the human body be used to build an intra-body network? Use an implanted RFID chip to relate internal information to an outside device. An RFID chip. Yes, scientists use flexible liquid state semiconducting polymers and microfluidic channels to build soft implantable electronics that integrate with body tissue. These biocompatible materials can interface with a tiny passive or active RFID chip to read local or biological data and transmit it to external scanning devices. An RFID chip. Yes, soft polymer conductive liquid polymers or hydrogels act as flexible wiring and biosensors that mold to organs or tissue. Intrabody networking, these polymer networks capture local signals like pH, glucose, and temperature. Yes or no, in an intrabody network system, could an implanted RFID chip be used as an authentication for payment? Yes, an implanted RFID chip can be used as authentication for payment in an intra-body network system, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and if you don't take it, you won't be able to buy or sell. Do y'all see where we're headed? And what did Marjorie Taylor Greene say before she resigned? There is no plan to save the world. There's no 4D chess game being played. When common American people realize and understand that the political industrial complex of both parties is ripping this country apart, that not one elected leader like me is able to stop Washington's machine from gradually destroying our country, and instead the reality is that they, common Americans, the people, poses the real power over Washington, then I'll be here by their side to rebuild it. There is no 4D chess game being played. Trump is implementing a beast system, and he's got World Economic Forum reporters asking the questions of his spokesperson, and they're not denying that there will not be a draft. And now we have a new mRNA flu vaccine that soldiers are going to have to get. They're talking about bringing back the draft, the mandates, and the technology in it, the software of life, can build super soldiers. That is transhumanism. Are y'all ready? 1 Thessalonians 5:23. May the very God of peace sanctify you wholly, and I pray that your whole spirit, soul, and body be preserved blameless, kept in its original form, until the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. Would anybody purposely go sign up for this? And the Bible talks about the Antichrist working is coming after the works of Satan. And what does Genesis tell us about the character of Satan? That he was the most crafty, the most covert, the most sly, the most sneaky creature that there was. Okay? And so they're being sneaky with it because that's after the workings of Satan. But the Bible says, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. I'm trying to give y'all knowledge by the revelation of the Holy Ghost, what is being planned behind our back, that we not be taken unaware. I love y'all. Thank you for watching. If you appreciate the content that you find on this channel, would you prayerfully consider supporting the ministry?